to... No, hey, what's going on, everybody? What's going on? I'm just teasing. My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. He's Tony Michael in Atlanta, Georgia. This is episode 151 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit, episode 9 of What If Scenarios. We're talking I Know What You Did Last Summer tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! We are live. I Know What You Did Last Summer, all the way back in 1997. There was a sequel, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, just the next year in 1998. There was a straight-to-DVD second sequel to kind of round out the trilogy called I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, which came out in 2006. But we are talking about, and of course there was the short-lived, recently canceled Amazon Prime show.
I never even heard of that.
Yeah, well, it came and went. Unfortunately, I didn't watch it. I didn't see it. There was just one season. I'm not going to watch it. Why would I watch it now if it's not going anywhere?
Dude, you need to start the show from now on every time. Like next week should be fuck off.
Yeah, fuck off. Good night, everybody.
I told him before we started live, I was like, Dave, you should start the show and say, fuck you.
Yes, that's what I did.
Everyone's going to be like, what? That escalated?
Of course. Fuck you all, you pieces of shit. No, so I Know What You Did Last Summer is one of those late 90s horror movies that was spawned from the resurgence thanks to Scream.
And Halloween.
And, well, yes, of course. But no, because it came out the year before.
Yeah, it came out. Yeah,
it came out the year before. So really it was Scream, and then you had I Know What You Did Last Summer, because I Know What You Did Last Summer is very Scream-esque. And it had some, whereas Scream had...
Yeah. It's the Dawson Creek of horror movies.
Scream had Neve Campbell from Party of Five. I Know What You Did Last Summer had Jennifer Love Hewitt from Party of Five. And of course, this was right on the cusp of Sarah Michelle Gellar's, she was in Scream 2, which came out in 97, but also, of course, She was cast as Buffy the Vampire Slayer in 1997. So
and she did a really cool one. It's a remake. I can't remember the name of the remake or the original now, but she did a movie with Ryan Phillippe called Cruel Intentions that I really like that movie.
Yes,
Cruel Intentions, but it's based off of another film.
It is, but that was a couple years later. That was like 99.
Right,
so,
that's what I mean. Like that was her run there where she was she was a hot ticket.
For sure. But in terms of I Know What You Did Last Summer, and by the way, I've always, I like the movie, I do. I don't think it's amazing or anything like that, but I think it's a very serviceable late 90s slasher kind of movie. But one thing I really love about it is the poster. I've always really appreciated the original poster for I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I think it's just it's the color combination of the blue and white and the mysteriousness of it. I know it's classic. Let's put all the actors' faces on it, looking in 5 different directions. You know what I mean? But it's just it's the color temperature of the image that I've always really liked. It looks mysterious and cold, and even though it takes place on the 4th of July or in and around that time, of course, it's got a cool coldness, dark, ominous, mysterious kind of vibe to it. So I've always actually really liked the I Know What You Did Last Summer poster. And this was the movie for me. I went to see it in the theater with my buddy Bruce, who you guys know, of course. And we went to go see it. I think it was because I don't know. I think Sarah Michelle Gellar might have already been cast as Buffy. I think she might have already been into the Buffy zone at this point. And Bruce and I went to go see it because it was a horror movie that was coming out. It was like, oh, Sarah Michelle, yes, she's that, that cute Buffy chick or whatever. It's like, yeah. Oh, okay. We'll go see it, right? And we went and saw it. Now, I knew of Party of Five, but I had never really watched the show Party of Five.
Same.
So I did not realize, this was my first introduction to my high school celebrity crush, Jennifer Love Hewitt. And anybody who went to high school with me or even in college would know that I had the biggest crush on Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Hey,
and
both our girls were on Party of Five.
that Nev Campbell, that's right. Yeah. She was the sort of more of the lead, and Hewitt was kind of a supporting role.
Wasn't she like a boyfriend, or not boyfriend, a girlfriend to one of the boys on the show? Or
she was. Like that? I think she was the boyfriend to Scott Wolf's character, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. And I think to this day, and of course, after watching it in five, I was like, you're 18 years. Actually, in '97, I would have been 18. You're 18 years old. You're like, who's this girl? And then of course you got to go find everything you can on where this girl can. So of course I started watching a little bit of Party of Five and all that kind of stuff. But I had the biggest. I mean, after that movie, I walked out of the theater going, who was that? I was like, who was that?
On the eyes.
She is. She was definitely my kind of girl next door sort of, type. And then of course that's why I went back to the theater a year later to watch I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Had nothing to do with the fact that the movie looked any good. It was purely because Jennifer Love Hewitt was in it. But so went to the theater. The Jennifer Love Hewitt thing aside, we left the theater, and it's funny, I don't know why I remember this, but I remember afterwards, myself and Bruce going to Costco with his dad. And for whatever reason, we were doing a Costco shop. I don't know why. And myself and Bruce were walking around Costco, helping his dad, throw big things into the carts and things like that. And we were just talking about the movie. And of course, I was obsessed with this Jennifer Love Hewitt person. And I don't know, for some reason, that's what I remember afterwards. But the movie itself, I liked it. I did. Like, her aside, I did. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a fun, serviceable, like I said, late 90s, very Scream-esque. A lot of films did have that vibe. Even Halloween H2O, of course, has a Scream-ish vibe to it. Then, of course, you have Scream 2 in 97. I Know What You Did Last Summer in 97. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer in 98. You got Urban Legends in there as well, or Urban Legend, I think. I don't think there's an S on it. That's in there as well. And then, of course, so like a lot of these movies had that kind of vibe, but I always liked this movie. When I went back, when I went back to the theater in 98 they turned it around really quick for a sequel because
too quick.
I Know What You Did Last Summer was it was a success. It was a success at the box office. Not huge. It wasn't a blockbuster or anything like that, but it certainly was enough of a success that they were like, hey, let's turn a sequel around really fast. And the sequel, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I went to see it and Bruce, because Jennifer Love Hewitt, and of course Brandy. Remember Brandy? She was really cute. I don't know what happened to her.
No, I played a lot of her music,
yes.
Especially like the days when I was working, on the radio station in the early 2000s. Brandy was hot, She was there with she was like Aaliyah, Monica, Brandy.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about Monica.
Yeah. And so definitely remember Brandy.
So Bruce had a big crush on Brandy. So of course, there we are going to see, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. And I mean, besides the eye candy, right, for 90 minutes, this was not a good movie. This was not a good sequel. I haven't seen it in years. So to be fair, I might pop it in today. Like, I have to be fair. I might pop it in today and go, it's not as bad as I remember. It's not great, but whatever. Or I might actually like it. I have no idea. But I remember leaving the theater going, I don't know. They go to this island and the whole thing. I don't know. I just, you know what I mean? I didn't enjoy it as much as I did the first one. And then, of course, it didn't do as well as the first one, not nearly as much so. And the slasher subgenre, once again, had a bit of a resurgence and then died at the beginning of the turn of the century. And they didn't bother to make another one until a straight-to-DVD remake, a straight-to-DVD, not a remake, but a straight-to-DVD third part called I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, which I have not seen. But guess who played the fisherman in that movie?
You.
Nah, yes, it was no. It was Don Shanks. Michael Myers from Halloween 5.
Yeah.
Don Shanks, the man himself. I think that's
Funny,
it anyway.
He's always in the ones of the franchise that die.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Shout out to Don. We love Don. It's not his fault Halloween 5 was a piece of crap. It's not his fault at all. But yes, he was the fisherman, I think anyway, in I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. And of course, Jennifer Love Hewitt was not in that. Freddie Prinze Jr. I mean, it's the third part years later, but it was a straight to DVD thing. And by all accounts, it wasn't very good at all. I haven't seen it. And then, of course, like I said, you have the Amazon Prime thing. But Tony and I got to well, first of all, before I shut up, Dave, Tony, tell me your experience with I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Well, like you, dude, I remember going to see it with Liz, my high school sweetheart. We saw all of them, like Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Halloween H2O, Urban Legends, because those all came out within the time frame before you and I.
Maybe it is Urban Legends. Maybe you're right. Maybe it does have an S on it.
I think that came out in '98 as well too, right around the same time that Halloween H2O came out. So yeah, I mean, for what we were given in '95 with Halloween 6 and the huge
Urban Legend,
letdown, the huge letdown from that film, and then thanks to Wes Craven, for saving us in the late '90s there with and we were able to get a bit of a resurgence with that stylized, type horror films, because you're right. When you look at I Know What You Did and Scream and Halloween H2O and Urban, the stylization of those films and the actors they cast, it's pretty much the same. But not complaining because we enjoyed them. I did not see the sequel in the theaters. I don't know why we didn't go to that one because I did see Scream 2. Obviously, I saw Scream 2. Yeah. That was no brainer. Because like you, once I saw Nev, that was it. It was just love at first sight for me with her. But I never got into watching Party of Five. I just wasn't really. Yeah, same. It was whatever. But Nev on Scream 2, even though it's not one of my favorite in the sequels, but she's just. Anyways, yeah. So, but yeah, I think I finally saw I Still Know on good old VHS. I rented it. It was one. I know Liz and I were like at a Blockbuster or one of the local VHS stores, and I was like, all right, let's watch it. And just. I was like, yeah, this is, I knew pretty much right within the first few moments. I was kind of looking at her on the couch like, this is not going to be good. And yeah, I'm not hating on the movie, but certainly it didn't do the first film any justice because I am a fan. Like if I were to rank the movies in that late 90s runs that we talked about, it'd be Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, then probably Halloween H2O, and then Urban. Yeah. And then there's a few others in there, but definitely Scream. And then I would put I Know What You Did Last Summer second to that, because I did there's moments in the film that clearly are fucking callbacks to the original Halloween, which was done very well. Like when the Slicker Man is stalking Sarah Michelle Gellar to the store. Yep. Very Halloween. Totally. But that's what I liked about it. Cause I remember telling Liz in the theater, I'm like, this is fucking Halloween vibes, man. And I'm loving it. And again, I liked Ryan Felipe, not a big fan of what's his name there, Freddie Prinze Jr. He's kind of hit or miss with me, but I do respect his Star Wars knowledge and how much of a Star Wars fan he is. And Sarah Michelle Gellar, same thing. She was, she's easy on the eyes, Buffy. And then your girl, Jennifer Love Hewitt. That's, I didn't like you. I didn't know who she was, because I wasn't watching Fox. I think that's what Party of Five was on. Might have been. Yeah, I just, and I was just like, oh, okay. Obviously we've seen the moment there where she's like, what do you want from me? We've seen that parody, which is great, what are you waiting for, huh? Or whatever. That's it. What are you waiting for? Huh? It's actually, a lot of times people forget what's her name. Anne Heche, I think, is also in that movie, right? Anne Heche is in that movie. Yeah. Yes, she is. She plays the sister of David Egan, if I'm not mistaken. Correct. And the blonde actress who plays Sarah Michelle Gellar, sister. Yes, I've seen her in other stuff too, and I like her as an actress. I can't think of her name now, but I see her face. Very pretty blonde. I remember thinking Anne Heche was really cute too. Yeah, and I thought Anne Heche did good job with her character. And that's where I thought, like, there's something, like, if I'm thinking of a sequel idea, I think there's something within Anne Heche character that could be played with a little bit, maybe. I don't know. But I really do enjoy the first one. The second one, forget it.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing, right? So here we are, and again, this is what if scenario. This is just fun, people. This is just, we're just hanging out, talking about this, shooting the shit, and sometimes we shoot from the hip. And but the era we're in right now, of course, is that nostalgic era, and that sort of. And I know that the I Know What You Did Last Summer Amazon Prime reboot, I know didn't. I don't know if it was good or terrible or okay.
Was Jennifer Love Hewitt involved with that?
Not as far as I know, no. Okay. But I don't know. I don't know if the show was good or terrible or serviceable or not bad. That really is that could be a matter of subjective opinion, perhaps. I don't really know. I don't know why it was canceled, if it just didn't get the ratings or what, or the views, I guess, in that sense. But, I think I Know What You Did Last Summer does have its fans. It's not Scream, it's not Freddy or Jason or Michael, but that first one especially, that first film especially, like Tony was talking about, is a special little horror movie in the late 90s. Yeah. And so then the question becomes, well, if you were to go back and do a sequel to that, you would want to, the obvious is, let's pretend the straight to DVD second sequel, third part, I'll Always Know, never happened. That's an easy one to pretend never happened, right? We can, that's not a big deal. We can, Don Shanks, you're amazing, but we're gonna put that over to the side. Okay, so that never happened. Now that leaves us with two movies. So that leaves us with I Know What You Did Last Summer and I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Now, to be fair, again, I haven't watched I Still Know in quite a few years.
I tried to watch it recently on Netflix and I stopped. I just got so bored with it. I was like, you could go either way with it. You could go direct from the original, or if you want to keep that one in there, you can. And there is room with this franchise that you can play with.
For sure. And that's really, that would really become the question. I don't think there is, and maybe the chat room can correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe you can, Tony, because you were watching a little bit of it not long ago. I don't believe, of course, it all depends on the story that you want to do, but I don't think there's anything in I Still Know that would be problematic like Halloween 2 from 1981. So one of the reasons why they negated all of the sequels, including Halloween 2, was there were two fundamental reasons why. They wanted to get rid of the brother-sister story angle. That's what they wanted to do. And Halloween 2 was the first movie where that was introduced. And they knew, okay, so, we're going to have to get rid of that. And two, we want to go back to the original intent of the character of Michael Myers, which is he is human, okay, but he's got but there's something a little off there, something weird, supernatural, right? And so they can't justify with any logical explanation how a man could be burning to death, engulfed in flames, and survive that. Now, I know they did it with 4, but by 4, things are getting, in 5 and 6, and now he's supernatural. But how do you explain a man, all that kind of stuff, right? So those are the real two big reasons. They just didn't want to deal with that. With I Still Know, I think you probably could include I Still Know. But maybe the best thing to do would be to kind of do what Ghostbusters Afterlife did, which is Ghostbusters Afterlife doesn't tell you that Ghostbusters 2 didn't happen. Because after all, Dan Aykroyd, Ray, is working in Ray's occult store. That's where he is.
In part 2.
Which is in part 2. But the movie is very heavily centric on the events of part 1. And so you could watch the movie and you could think to yourself, are they negating 2? But they're not but they're not. They're just, it's it's because
it's like, we know you're there, but we're not going to mention you.
Yeah, but that also doesn't mean that they couldn't mention it and acknowledge it in a future movie, which, by the way,
that actually, the way you're bringing this up, that actually would probably be the smartest thing to do with I Know What You Did Last Summer, by not acknowledging the trip, to the island, and just, kind of leave it like there and let the main focus on, obviously we're bringing Jennifer Love Hewitt back.
100%.
Bringing her in, and it's more focused in on the events of that first film.
That's right. Correct. And
that I think would be smart.
Yeah, and I think that's what, so, you'll get that thing that people kind of got with Ghostbusters Afterlife, where it's like, are they not, and even, Jason, Reitman said, he said, no, we're not saying it doesn't. It's just that because this deals with, Zool and Gozer, like, it's very centric, and that makes sense, right? I mean, that's not just, there is a smart business decision around that as well, because the original is one of the most beloved comedy classics in motion picture history. The second one, although does have some fans, of course, it's not near it. And I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but Ghostbusters 2 isn't Ghostbusters. So, it makes sense that they would kind of focus in on that. And for better or worse, some people like that, some people didn't, some people thought it was too much of the same, some people thought it was great. And, whatever the case is, right? Ghostbusters Afterlife is the Force Awakens of Ghostbusters. And sometimes when you have a series that is in a downward spiral, like Star Wars was and like Ghostbusters was, you got to go back to go forward. And, so I love Ghostbusters Afterlife, and to have a few little things in there that were introduced in part 2, like the occult store and all that, is really smart, because it tells you, no, it's still canon. It's still canon, and maybe we'll get more of that in a future episode, or a future film. So yes, I think that's what I would do with I Know What You Did Last Summer. I would take, I would look at Anne Heche's character, right? I would really start to kind of dive in.
Kind of where I'm thinking that maybe their starting point is, like, if you're thinking of a protagonist, right, and a villain for this, I would definitely start there, because there would be motive. There would be a lot of motive. Because they killed her brother. And
no. See,
no, they didn't kill her brother. That's right.
No, see, that's the thing. So. For those of you that may have been confused, spoiler. So the person they hit on the road is actually what's his face? It's not David Egan. He killed David Egan, I think, right? I think was the situation. I think he did, if I'm not mistaken. Did he?
It's been a minute since I've seen
something like that.
Man.
But he,
chat room will let us know.
But so and then of course, I think the last thing we see. What do we see? Is it, I think he falls off the boat at the end of the movie, right? And you just see like his hand with the hook hanging on the mast of the boat or something.
Willis, the father, right? The father.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. That's right. So now I know at the end of I Know What You Did Last Summer, there's that cliffhanger ending, where it smashes and comes out. But I think that was and I Still Know it was referenced as a dream, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was just a dream. And I think they acknowledged that the ending of I Know What You Did was just a dream. And I think it was acknowledged in I Still Know. So you could even still bring that into this. You could have...
Okay, so they got it. Okay, so Ben Willis killed David Egan.
That's right. That's why I say yes.
And then thank you, WJC. And then they hit Ben Willis.
That's right. And David Egan was the brother of Anne Heche's character.
Right. So like I said, with the connection with that is that for Anne Heche, her character is she would think that they actually killed her brother.
That's not bad. Although with so much time having gone by, would that information have now come out? You know what I mean? Like there might be, it's possible. But the point that Tony and I are making is that, I would want to go back to the first movie, and I would want to look at those subplots, and I would want to look at the characters and figure out what would be a good starting point here in terms of, and of course, this is totally reliant on Jennifer Love Hewitt reprising her role as Julie James.
Yeah, it's a no-go if she's not.
If she's not going to, this is about Jennifer Love Hewitt reprising her role as, she's coming back to do what Laurie Strode, you know what I mean? It's this kind of thing, or what Nev Campbell, you have to bring her. She is the Laurie of this franchise, although she was, was only in 2 movies, but I mean, that's who she is, right? I mean, I Know What You Did Last Summer, that's who she is. So she would have to come back. It would make sense. It's like 25 years later, right? She's our age, by the way. So she was born in 1979. So
it's totally doable.
Totally doable. So she's 43, and so she's, she might even have a kid herself, right?
Maybe Ben Willis had a kid at the time who was just too young and now is all grown up and seeking revenge for what happened to his dad.
Maybe David Egan maybe they had a brother nobody knew about. Maybe there was a younger brother.
That too.
That had a really close relationship with David Egan.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple ways you can go with this. You can go the Anne Heche route of Anne Heche thinking that they killed her brother.
That's right.
Or you can go the road of some type of connection to Willis and again seeking revenge for what happened to Willis.
Right, exactly.
There's a couple ways. Or you could just, I don't know, you could go totally off script and just be totally fucking random.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could just really, it could just be about, like, you would want it to be, you'd want to introduce a new set of young, hot actors, right? I mean, that's what you do. And Jennifer Love Hewitt is the anchor of that, right? Right. So she's like the Nev in Scream 4, not really Scream 5 per se, but more like, she comes back into the fold, something brings her back. I know that something brought her back in 5 as well, but I'm just saying she was more heavily involved in 4.
Do you maybe do with the young crowd, like the young kids that you're referring to, maybe set up a similar scenario that involves them, that what happened with Jennifer Love Hewitt and them back in the day?
100%.
And
of course you do.
Brings Jennifer Love Hewitt as the anchor because she knows she's been down this road before.
100%. This is not rocket science. This is not, the Shawshank Redemption. This is a slasher movie, right?
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Some people may hear our ideas and go, "Oh, but they do that all the time." Yeah, and you go see it, and it's a huge success, and it revitalizes the franchises, of course, because it's familiar, because it's nostalgic. There is a formula to it, and if the formula works, the studios are going to do it until it doesn't work anymore.
Ooh, what if Julie, like you said, her kid technically would be in that graduating high school age range.
Yes.
And it happens to her.
Do you remember?
Something like that happens to her kid.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember a couple of What If episodes back, we were talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right?
Yeah, with Jessica Biel.
Biel. And so this would be the same kind of thing, right? You bring back Jessica Biel, she's got a daughter that goes, whatever the case is, she goes to Texas, to university, and then she discovers who her mother was, and then Jessica Biel's got to come back into the fold. That baby that she had at the end of that movie, right? That's who it is. And she discovers that her mom isn't her real mom, but she thought it was her mom, and then all that stuff, right? Yeah, we've seen this kind of, but it works. And you would sit there, and if you're a big fan of the Jessica Biel Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, you'd sit there fucking eating it up. Don't tell me you wouldn't. You would.
Absolutely.
Everybody would. Yeah. Everybody would sit there eating that shit up. And that's the end point, right? When you think about revitalizing franchises, we had to do the same thing with Billy, right? Like, what's our end point? Well, Jess was pregnant. She wanted to have, an abortion, but we never knew what happened to her. Did she? I know people, there's evidence to suggest that she died, but Bob Clark also said he wanted to do a sequel with her. But anyway, that aside, right? We don't know what happened to her. She's pregnant. We don't know what she did with the baby. And then we thought, well, what if she kept it? And she kept it because of that night, because everything she went through that night and blah. You can disagree or agree with that. You may not but it works. It works, and it's an end point. And that's sort of what you're looking at here. That's what a writer's room would do when you sit down to figure out, how do we revitalize these legacy characters? How do we revitalize these legacy franchises to set the stage to make it work?
And the cool thing about your idea, technically, even though you're rehashing somewhat the same story, it also has never been done. And let me clarify that. So what I'm saying is Jennifer Love Hewitt's character, Julie James, which sounds such like a porn actress.
Dude, they all... Okay, hang on.
Oh, yeah, wait,
hold it right there. Hold it right there.
We'll get back to this in a second.
Okay.
Dave and I found this out only like not too long ago when we were thinking about this idea. Let him read off the name of all these characters from this movie and tell me that porn people were the directors or porn whatever. The porn industry was definitely involved in this movie. When you hear these character names,
character names, they sound like porn names. So we have Jennifer Love Hewitt as Julie James. Come on,
totally a porn actress.
Come on, name. We got Sarah Michelle Gellar as Helen Shivers. Come on, come on. Ryan Felipe as Barry Cox. I mean,
Barry
come on.
Cox.
Barry Cox. Come on, you got
That's
Freddie
too on the nose.
You got Freddie Prinze Jr. as Ray Bronson. That's
like a 70s porn.
I'm just gonna say it's either a porn name or like a superhero name or something. Yeah. And then of course, Bridget Wilson, who played Elsa Shivers, the sister of Sarah Michelle Gellar's character. Like they all sound like porn names. They do
exactly.
They sound like names that should have been in the movie X. Anyway.
Exactly. Anyways, so your idea, as what I was starting to say, even though you're rehashing the same story, the way you're rehashing it has never been done before in a horror film, and meaning that Julie James's daughter is graduating high school, and her friends have a similar incident that happened with Julie James' character back in the day, and yes, even though you are telling the same story, we've never seen it where a similar scenario has happened to a mother-daughter connection.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like that's, even though, yes, it's the same type story that you're being told, you've actually never seen something like that where like a mother and daughter are now sharing a similar experience.
Right, I see what you're saying. Yeah, there's similarities like with, Laurie and Allison in the new Halloween movies and things like that. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. But you know what? Yes, it's formulaic, it's predictable. But again, when you have a franchise that is in the shitter, which I know what you did is, right? You had the second movie didn't do very well. Then you had the I'll always know, which didn't do anything at all. And then you had the Amazon Prime thing, which they were really banking on and hoping that this would revitalize that. Now got canceled, right? So what do? Well, maybe you got to go back to go forward. Well, who do you go back to? Jennifer Love Hewitt, of course you do. That doesn't mean that she's going to say yes, but again, this is a what if scenario. So under our what if scenario, she does say yes, and she's like, great, yes, I've just had my third or fourth kid or whatever she's just had, but she's ready. She's ready to get back out there, and yes, I'm going to come back. And you design it a way where it's 25 years later, she's had a kid, she's moved on, and it starts happening to her kid and her friends. And then it's like, who is this fisherman, right?
The anchor of the movie too becomes even stronger. It's about a mother, trying to save her daughter from
Right. Exactly. Yes, exactly. Because, she's got to get back in it and not only save her daughter, but in the process through that, of course, she finds out what this is all about. And really, you could use it as well that the fisherman wants to, whoever the fisherman is, maybe it is the guy from the first film, right? Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but maybe the real target is Julie James. Perhaps, right? And they're using the daughter as bait.
And the cool thing I would do with this one is with the kills. I would get very creative with the kills to make it seem like they were accidents.
Right.
But Jennifer Love Hewitt's like, no, this is, like she feels that something, but no one's believing her.
Right.
Because they feel that the incident that happened with her and her friends back in 97, it's not connected. But Jennifer Love Hewitt's character feels that it is connected, that these deaths from this young generation of new kids, that these are not accidents, that these are, done intentionally. So I think the way you set up the kills in this movie is make them look like they're accidents.
Right.
So that it almost, like the cops, what town, what's the name of the sea town that they live in?
I forget the name of the town.
I forget the name of it. But anyways, the cops in the town that they're in, they don't see the connection. They see this as just accidents, freaky accidents that are happening.
Southport, North Carolina?
Southport. Okay, so there you go.
I think is where it is.
Where, you have almost like Jennifer Love Hewitt is like this, is doing her, like, kind of like what she did in the first film. They did their own detective work to figure out what actually, and then they realized they were not the ones to kill David Egan, and that they were the ones who actually hit Ben Willis.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, so there's a similar story arc there with her character, again, doing the detective work, because she firmly believes that these kills are not accidental, that this is something to do with maybe
of course
that happened in 97.
It's the Halloween 2018 thing. Look, I mean, I'm not a big fan of 18. I don't hate 18 or anything, but it's a formula. It's about a formula that would be attractive to a studio and that works. And that doesn't mean that, if this reboot is a success, that you just keep doing the same thing. No, obviously, if you want to go back and do another one, you got to start, expanding out and evolving the story. But for that first movie, yeah, you want to do the Force Awakens of it. You want to go forward. It's familiar, but it's its own story as well. And to see, Julie James come back and she's she maybe her, I don't know. There's so many ways you could go with who the killer is, and how the killer.
You can recycle a similar situation, an incident that involves the young kids. You could, like you said, you could connect it to Willis again. Whatever. Yeah, there is a lot of options there that you can do with this, story
for sure,
on who the killer is and why the killer is doing what he or she is doing.
For sure, because you can go back, look at that first movie, and there probably is something in the exposition, either with Anne Heche's character or with, sifting through the newspaper articles and discovering shit about David Egan and, Willis and all this stuff. I mean, there probably is something that a writer can look at and go, exactly. That little thing there, let's exploit that. Let's exploit that, because I know what we can do with that, because that's what we did with Billy, right? And that's what writers do. I'm not saying all of them do that, but I'm saying that when you're looking to revitalize a franchise, you tend to do that. It's like, well, how do we do this? I mean, what do we, wait, no, that little thing right there. See that little thing? Go back. Okay, right, no, forward. There it is. That's what we do. Right. And then you take that and you go, that little thing that was mentioned, that one line that sounded like a throwaway line, or that one little headline that the camera went past on, the newspaper article, something like that can be inspiring to a writer, and you can take that and then exploit it and make it bigger and more involved and more intense and shit that they didn't know in that first movie, and things like maybe there's crazy shit, that you can do with those characters it really is you're reintroducing the story to a new generation, obviously, because this movie's 1997, so it's 25 years ago. It's hard to believe.
It's too bad that they didn't think of already to do this, because to do it on the 25th anniversary would have been pretty cool. It
would have been. And I would go back, maybe not to the same town, but maybe you go back to the same kind of setting. Maybe you go to Maine.
I do like the setting. I definitely like the setting a lot.
I do as well. I mean, Jesus, it could be, again, if the movie's really good, and it's really scary, and I'm within its, I'm not talking like it's like Shining level psychological shit, but I mean, within the slasher subgenre, it's actually a really good movie. If it's really good, it's got some suspense, got some good kills and things like that. You could do it as something as, I know it sounds like such a cop out, but you could do it. But if it's connected to something, you could even play the angle that it was somebody who was, I don't know if you'd have it as Anne Heche, because you'd have to figure out sort of what would be her motive. Did
Anne Heche ever find out that they were not the ones who killed her brother?
That's a good question.
I can't remember how that arc finishes off in the first film.
That's a very good question.
Because that's where I said the one, if she never figured out who killed her brother, and if Anne Heche's gut instinct is that they did kill her brother, that's motive. That's you've already planted a seed for motive for Anne 100%. Character.
But then we'd have to figure out why the 25-year wait, and sort of why Patience. Now. What?
I mean,
well,
you're patience, and you're pulling the trigger on wanting to kill people. That's not something you just go, I'm going to do it.
No, I know, but I feel that we'd still have to be justified but you know what though, like the fact that it's the 25th anniversary.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe she waited so long because she wanted to wait till when her daughter graduates high school, and then bam.
Maybe. But I think even in the actual story, I would have it 25 years later, because you could play that angle of whatever is happening because it's the 25th anniversary. You know what I mean? It's like in The Fog, right? It's the 100th year anniversary. And, having those nice round numbers, 25, 50, 75, 100, is, it's the evil has been awoken again, right? You know what I mean? And whatever evil, maybe it's a copycat killer, right? I mean, maybe it's somebody that got really obsessed, with that. And because it's the 25th anniversary, or like I said, maybe it's a fucking...
Or it's Willis coming back for revenge.
Now, here's the thing. Did Willis have I can't quite remember I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Did he have was there any relatives that were introduced in that movie? I know we're negating that movie, but I'm just...
I forgot, what was Willis's motive to killing David Egan? Had something to do with his daughter, right?
Well, did he kill her? Did he end up killing her, or did he let me just hang on. I brought up something here that I wanted to read, because this kind of tells you all about it. So obviously there was a book. So I'll just quickly read this because it's interesting. So I Know What You Did Last Summer started as a book, for those of you that don't know. It was called I Know What You Did Last Summer, and it came out in 1973.
Really?
Yes. The suspense story follows Julie, her boyfriend Ray, and their friends Barry and Helen. Helen Rivers instead of Shivers. That's funny. They were driving home after a party one night. The teens accidentally run over and kill a boy named David Gregg. Okay, now this is the book. Ray anonymously calls for an ambulance, but the group agrees to never speak about the accident again. The following year, the group starts receiving threatening messages claiming to know what they did last summer. The villain in Duncan's book, this is the author, is a guy by the name of Bud, who Julie starts dating in the year after the accident. Bud's real name is Collingsworth Collie Wilson, but he goes by Bud because his younger brother, David from the accident, could never pronounce his first name. So that's the book. Ben Willis is the killer in I Know What You Did Last Summer, the movie. When I Know What You Did Last Summer was adapted into a movie, the villain and his motive changed slightly. In the books, a grieving brother seeks revenge. But in the movies, Ben Willis is the person who gets hit by the car and left for dead. I Know What You Did Last Summer still features a car accident. Believing the victim to be dead, the group of teens agree to get rid of the body. The following year, unbeknownst to the group, Ben Willis becomes a crazed murderer, killing locals with a fishhook. Hell-bent on revenge, Ben Willis returns as the killer in I Still Know What You Did Last Summer and I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. So I don't know.
Did the son help him out though? I thought in the I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
Did Ben Willis have a son?
I thought he did.
I thought
I didn't finish watching it.
Chat room, who's up on this. Was there a son? Did Ben Willis have a son, and was he introduced in I Still Know?
Guess we'll find out in a moment.
Right. Howard D says Ben gets hit right after killing David by drowning him. Yes, Ben had a son, they're saying. Yes. And I thought so, because I can vaguely kind of see this younger guy. So
Did he die? And I Still Know? The son. Obviously Ben didn't, because Ben came back for I'll Always
Know. But yes, he did.
Die.
He did.
Okay.
You know what? You could change it to Sister. So you have a twin sister. Obi-Wan was wise to hide her from. But you could do something like that. Now, you would have to make it make sense, right? But hey, a female killer, I'm down for it. I'm totally down for it, right?
Well, that's why I said Anne Heche is a possibility. You just have to really massage that story. But yeah, I mean, if you said, Willis had a daughter, well, I mean, yes, he had a daughter who dies in a car accident with Egan, which is why Ben that's Ben's motive to kill David Egan. Shit.
Okay, so Howard D., who seems to be quite up on the I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise, says he died. Ben was a ghost in part 3. Ben apparently so Don Shanks was a ghost. He was the ghost in part 3. Okay, well, the part 3 doesn't exist, right? And
it definitely does not exist.
He did, right. So the fact that you and I agreed that we were going to play this reboot as a very similar to Ghostbusters Afterlife, where we're not saying part 2 doesn't exist. As a matter of fact, there might even be a couple things you see in it that you're like, oh, clearly I still know, does exist. Like maybe there's a photo in the background of Julie James's home. We don't acknowledge it. We don't draw attention to it, but maybe she walks by, her fireplace mantle or something, and there's a picture of her and Brandy. Do you know what I mean?
There you go, yeah.
Like,
and maybe she's listening to the same radio station that they won their tickets on.
I don't even think you got to go that far. I think you just have to, a photo in the background, she walks by as she's cleaning or something, and there's clearly a photo in the background on the mantle or on the desk or wherever of her and Brandy. And then you don't acknowledge it. She doesn't pick it up and look at it. Not at all. It's just there.
It's there.
And right. if the audience sees it, they see it, they don't. But if they do see it, then they go, oh, well, clearly, Brandy wasn't in the first movie. So clearly, then I guess I still know. It's that kind of thing. It's like how Ray's Occult Store is in, you know what I mean? That's all you need to do, because then you plant the seed for if you want to, because then it also helps with continuity as well, because maybe there's some things in there that you have to kind of, pay attention to in regards to what happens to Willis and his son and all that. But apparently, yeah, from what I can remember, I think they do kind of die at the end of I Still Know. But it doesn't have to be Ben. Right? It can be somebody else, like Tony's saying. Maybe it's Anne Heche's character. Maybe it's a copycat killer. Maybe there was a sister that we didn't know about, right? Or maybe there's somebody, I don't know. You know what I mean? But it's all about bringing the franchise back to its roots, bringing back Jennifer Love Hewitt.
If you totally omit the sequels, like part 2 and 3, then you have the door open for Ben's son to come in and be the killer. That is the one door opening you do have. That it's an easy, that's revenge. I mean, Ben's son.
That's right. Howard D. Yeah, he says in part, that's right. I remember it now. That's right. That's right. I remember that now. Yes. Ben's son disguised himself as a college student at Julie's college named Will. He was the radio announcer who got them the tickets to Brazil. He went on the trip with them. Yes, I remember that now. I remember that now.
Bahamas and not Brazil. I thought they were on an island.
Yeah, I thought it was Bahamas as well, but that's right. I remember that now. So I Still Know does that family lineage thing, but it doesn't have to be family lineage. It can be, but it doesn't have to be either. I
mean, if you wanted to keep the connection with the Willis family, then yeah, I would definitely omit 2 and 3 and just it's Ben's son who's coming after. He patiently waited for Julie's daughter to be old enough to graduate because he wants Julie to suffer the same way he has,
Or you keep to, like I said, by just having that picture of her and Brandy on the background, whatever, right?
Who's your killer?
Well, the killer becomes it becomes revenge. And it's somebody we didn't know. Like I said, maybe it's a sister. Maybe Ben had a daughter and we didn't know about it. Nobody knew about it because maybe the only thing for me with that would be, what's the justification for waiting so long? Now it's not that it can't be easily, again, people watching slasher movies tend to, You can feed them
analyze it.
They do, but you can feed them something pretty, serviceable, and they'll go, oh, okay, all right, I guess that makes sense.
Well, that's why the idea of a scenario with Julie's daughter and friends having a similar situation, but this time maybe they do kill a high school kid, and that kid's father knows that they did it and is seeking revenge to kill them.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Is one scenario.
100%.
It's recycling the same story, but it's being told from Julie's daughters, and their
100%. 100%. It's telling the story again, but you're doing it again. You're doing the Halloween 18 thing, right? I mean, listen, come on. In Halloween 18, Michael's locked up for 40 years. He escapes again, and he goes back to Haddonfield on Halloween night again.
Michael, there's a whole bunch of other towns out there, buddy.
People sit there and fucking eat it up. It became the highest grossing slasher of all time. Nobody's bitching and complaining about, and so yes, you can do it. I mean, look at Scream, for God's sakes. With all due respect to the Scream fans out there, how many fucking times can you? I mean, hello, Jenna Ortega is Drew Barrymore at the beginning of part 5. I mean,
survives.
Survives. Yeah, exactly. Right. There's always a bit of a different hook. There's a bit of a different angle. Right. So it's not about doing the exact same thing beat for beat. Right. It's about.
Ooh, what if the person they hit, they throw that person? No, because that's how they did with David Egan. I mean, Willis.
Yeah.
No. Because then he wasn't dead after all. Actually, I like the idea of the kids accidentally killing a high school kid and that kid's parent finding out the truth of what happened somehow. I don't know how he finds out the truth of what happened, and he starts picking off the Jennifer Love Hewitt's daughter's friends, leading up to, maybe it was Jennifer Love Hewitt's daughter who was driving. So his goal is to pick off all the friends first and to leave the daughter for last.
Right.
And maybe Julie is upset because, the daughter kept it a secret. This whole time she never told her mom what happened. Because because then you get into the whole, it's a manslaughter thing. Shit. I didn't even think of that. Vehicular manslaughter. So they technically would have killed someone. And to keep that a secret, it is kind of fucked up. Although that's what they were technically doing. And I know what you did last summer, because they thought they killed they thought they killed Willis, and they threw him into the ocean, which is fucked up because that is manslaughter.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But it's like, I mean, there's a lot of things that you could do with it. As long as the story, and I say this with all due respect, as long as the story makes sense, it's serviceable, it's got a little bit of an interesting hook to it, right? No pun intended in the hook part. But, it's got an interesting hook to it where you're like, maybe a little bit of a twist or something like that, but nothing, earth-shattering. I mean, this is a slasher movie, for God's sakes. It doesn't have to be anything earth-shattering. It just has to be serviceable, good. You walk away, you go, oh, that was kind of a... I mean, listen, say what you want about Scream. I know there are a lot of people that loved it, Scream 2022. There's a lot of people that didn't like it, but Scream 2022 did exactly what we were saying. Well, it doesn't mean you have to like it, but they went back to go forward. Now, Scream 4, they've... The
Scream 4 sort of did that, but
they did. They
really.
did.
They came back. They went down the road of being obsessed, the cousin connection, wanting her to be, she wanted to be Sydney, and, social media obviously was in the boom and all that stuff like that. But yeah, they sort of went back to the roots, but they really went back to their roots in this recent Scream.
They did. And so, I was just going to say that the Scream franchise has not suffered the same fate with fans like, Star Wars did before the Force Awakens, or Ghostbusters, or Halloween, or things like that. I just mean that they did. You're absolutely right. Scream 2022 is like a Force Awakens. You kind of go back. They played it safe. Now, they took some risks with a couple of characters that, whatever. I get that. But they played it safe in the sense of it didn't revolutionize Scream. It's a Scream movie. For better or worse, I watched it. You watched it. We went, yeah, that's a Scream movie, and maybe that's a good thing, or maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. But that's what I'm talking about, right? That's what they seem to be doing. Now that doesn't mean that you're going to get that with Scream 6 or Scream 7 or however long they keep going. Maybe they're really going to
we're going to be
try and open it up.
And they're still coming out with Screams.
Yeah, exactly. But
Halloween.
It's really predicated on a service like this. I know what you did is it's make a serviceable story that's connected to that first movie with an interesting hook. No, again, no pun intended. And Jennifer Love Hewitt. It's predicated solely on her. She comes back. It's not a cameo. She's not kind of there. No,
it's not like what
there.
they did with Nev and Courtney Cox in this new Scream, where they, not that it was a cameo, but they didn't have. And I was okay with it. I was okay with them. The screen time that I got with Nev was great, and Courtney Cox. It's too bad the three of them couldn't share a moment together. I don't think we didn't get all three of them.
Did we get all three? No, I don't think we did.
Yeah, we didn't get Dewey, Sydney, and Gail.
Yeah,
that was the only bummer. But you know what? I got 4 other movies with the three of them on screen together, so it's fine. I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Julie James's character has got to have a bit more of a presence.
She has just as much a presence in this as we talked about with Jessica Biel in the Texas
like Jamie Lee is in Halloween.
Right. Yeah. She's a main character. She's top billing, and it's
that's the draw. The draw is
exactly
Jennifer Love Hewitt's reprising her role in a sequel to I Know What You Did Last Summer. You want it, that's already going to go like, okay, what's this all about? Now you got to give us a good story.
That's right. And as long as the story is serviceable, and again, when I say serviceable, you can take that to mean, you can take that to be, was serviceable, but based on where the franchise is, right? It's all relative. You make a serviceable sequel when you already have 4 really great movies, well, then serviceable isn't good enough, right? Yeah. But when you have a franchise that's already in the shitter with really only 1 good movie, serviceable is actually where you want it. That's like your bar. Now, if you exceed it, then great. Now, some could argue and say, well, I still know What You Did Last Summer was serviceable. And I get that. But I mean, maybe serviceable isn't the right word because I think it's got a bad connotation to it. But what I mean is acceptable, right? We walk out of the theater going, you know what? That wasn't bad. It wasn't. She's not revolutionizing the horror subgenre, but that was fine.
Walk out of the theater going, damn, that was fun.
That was fun. Yeah, it was really good. It was, and it makes some money and whatever. And all of a sudden, it's like how I felt about Ghostbusters Afterlife. I watched it and I walked out of the theater going, that was a lot of fun. That was exactly what this franchise needed, and I think the same thing has to be done with I Know. But the problem is, like I said, again, it's totally predicated on Jennifer Love Hewitt. She says no, forget it. Don't even bother, because you'll just end up with another, Amazon Prime thing.
It doesn't work without her.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
And I don't need Freddie Prinze Jr. to come back. I mean, if you bring him back, fine. But if he's not there, he's not going to be missed.
No, I don't.
That's not a diss at him. I'm just saying, like, I'm going to see the movie because she's the hook. No pun, but she's the hook that's bringing me in.
Right. I mean, Jesus, you could even have it like, that might be a bit of a stretch. No. Okay. So Ryan Felipe, obviously, no, you can't. He's dead. Sarah Michelle Gellar is dead. So he's not going to be there. I think Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character does survive, and I still know he did last summer, if I'm not mistaken. So if you wanted to bring him back, you could, but you're right. I agree with you, Tony. I don't think it's necessary at all. I don't think you have to go really cliche with it, and that, you know, Ray and Julie ended up together and having kids and a family.
No,
like
I don't have to do that.
No, I mean,
not at all. Like I said, if he is not in the movie, it's like I said, his character, I'm not gonna be like, oh, you know, I wish they had. No, like, no, I'm not. And that's not a diss at Freddie Prinze Jr.
Nope.
Or the character. It's just,
that's
yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Necessarily needed.
I don't think it's necessary at all. I think maybe she's single, divorced. I don't know, but her daughter gets into.
The other thing too is we got to remember is the title of the movie. That's
the
other part of this.
Yes.
The title of the movie is called I Know What You Did Last Summer. So some type of an event has to happen for it to go a year forward, so that we're going back to I Know What You Did Last Summer.
You see, yes, and the thing is, so I Still Know has already been used, and I'll Always Know has already been used.
I would just call it I Know What You Did Last Summer. I wouldn't worry about it so much.
I mean, the studio might want to do that because of the trend we're on with Scream and Halloween, and you know that we tend to be on this.
For this franchise, I think it's okay. You know what I mean? Because we're not. Again, I'm not dissing the franchise, but we're not talking like it's not one of the heavy hitters.
No, it's not. It's not.
So to call it again, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Or you could just even call it, or you could call it I Know What You Did, and just take out the last summer, right? And just I Know What You Did.
I Know What You Did Last Fall.
No, yeah. But you could just I know.
Winter.
Or fuck, what if the movie's just called I Know?
That too.
You know what I mean? I mean that's. It's kind of creepy.
I don't know if people are going to, I mean, it's a good title. I don't know if people would get the connection to I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Well, not unless they see a poster or a trailer. Then they'd go, oh, I get it. You know, I get this totally. But whatever they did, bring back Hewitt. Her daughter gets into some sort of shenanigans, you know, and whether it's connected to her mother or not, who knows? But that's an option. You like her mother's experience from 25 years earlier. Who knows? But that's definitely something you could explore. And it, you know, if you do go that route, it brings in the nostalgia. You can bring in Easter eggs, all that kind of stuff. It just has to make sense. You don't want to write a story that feels like you're really stretching it. You know.
You know, if you did set up a similar story with Julie's daughter having a similar situation happening a year later after something went down, you could have a moment where her, you know, where Julie's finding out that her, you know, the daughter kept it from her, and she walks over to that mantle like you're talking about, and she grabs the picture of the original cast, Ryan Felipe, Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle
like that
herself. And you also see the Brandy picture with her and Brandy. So
but we don't acknowledge it.
You don't acknowledge it, but you see it there as she reaches and she begins to tell the story of what happened to her and her friends in 97. So that could be the way that you have the Easter egg of Brandy's character. So like you said, you're not talking about I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, but at least the audiences, they see the photo, they know it's part of the canon. Right. And
Hewitt would be talking to who would her daughter or
there's when you get to the third act, you know what I mean, the beginning of the third act, and Julie finds out her daughter did do something that provoked everything to be happening, and that she didn't know how to do it. That's where Julie can be like, well, let me tell you what happened with me and my friends. And she goes to the mantle, grabs the picture, hands it to her daughter, and in that process, like I said, you for a split second you see a shot
do that
and Brandy, and then she begins to tell the story of what happened in 1996, and then you know what happened,
and then the whole thing that happened in 97. Right. Yeah, no, I mean that's an option.
That's that relatability.
It's an option.
You know, I get it. I get why you were afraid. I understand why you didn't want to say anything.
Right. I'd have that happen earlier in the film, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
You gotta have the reason for the conversation is because at this point in the movie, all these deaths have happened, and now it's finally been revealed why these deaths are happening.
Correct.
Julie was right. So you have that conversation now with the daughter. Where the daughter was like, you know, she was afraid to tell her mom.
Right.
And Julie's like, well, I understand because
I understand.
I went through the same thing.
That's right. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, no, that's
Something like
it.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's properly motivated and you know, it makes sense. Yeah, I think there's whether this would be successful theatrically, I don't know if a studio would want to take that risk. This might be something, you know, might be up Netflix's route. It's a Netflix film, maybe, perhaps, I don't know. I mean, you know, they may, who knows? I mean, they may.
I do like the I know and just calling it I know. My only concern is because I can see it. I can see the poster board and it just says I know.
Yeah.
Jennifer Love Hewitt's face and then the cast, you know, whatever, kind of stylized the same way like they did in the original.
Well, and when
my only concern is, will the audience get it? You know what I mean? Like, will they get it that this is a sequel to I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Yes, I think they will through the marketing, through, you know, the trailer, through promos, through, you know,
just calling it I Know is actually I like
it's great. It's great because it also removes
sticking to the summer.
Sticking to the summer. Yeah, you could have it in the fall.
You could do it fall.
You could do it. No, but you could. I mean, imagine this for a moment, right? Just humor me. Imagine a movie. Imagine this setting taking place in the bleak landscape of like Alaska. You know, or something, right? We have like the mountains and shit. It's like maybe it's Anchorage, Alaska. It could be anywhere. But imagine that though, right? Where it's like it's got like, you know, and the when you go to color correct the movie, like a lot of the colors are muted. You know what I mean? So there's not really like really rich poppy, you know, colors. It's not saturated. It's more muted, cold kind of feeling look. It's got like there's like a blue kind of texture to the picture because maybe it takes place in March. Maybe it takes place in February. You know, I mean, who knows, right? It can still be a college town. College kids are still fucking rocking about, and it doesn't have to be Alaska. It can be in Maine. It can be somewhere where maybe it gets it gets cold. You know, it doesn't have to be snow all over the place, but
fall idea, and I would probably set it kind of like in a good Midwest town that gets a really good foliage. You know what I mean? Like,
you could totally
really
do that.
Nice fall,
I'm just trying to think of something different because fall and town it's so Halloween.
They go together.
It's so Halloween, and I think to do something
late fall, like late November, you know, around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you could sure you could do it. Sure, absolutely.
Kids are coming home from college, you know, like
for Thanksgiving. Yes,
and that's when the killings begin to happen.
Yeah,
over Thanksgiving break.
I Know What You Did Last Thanksgiving. No, I don't know. No, but I mean,
yeah,
but no, totally, absolutely. But the principle of what we're talking about here, whether it's in a little town in Anchorage and it's in the winter, or whether it's in the late fall in November where all the foliage is off the trees, so it's got that bleak gray sort of, you know, ominous kind of feeling to it, and they're all in their jackets and jeans and, you know, sweaters and hoodies or whatever. I mean, yeah, absolutely. It doesn't have to be the summer. And maybe it shouldn't be the summer because you want to leave I Know What You Did Last Summer as its own identity. Maybe you don't want to do you could still have it 25 years if it's happening the same year, right? It doesn't have to be on the exact anniversary.
Didn't he also at some point during the movies like would leave notes and it would just say I know? You know what I mean? Like I know they had ones where it would be like I know what you did last summer, but I thought wasn't there a moment where it just says I know and that's it?
I know in the first movie, the only thing I don't like about the note that Jennifer Love Hewitt's character gets when she opens it up and this bothered me when I actually watched the movie in the theater. It's too perfect. It looks like it was written like it's written with a Sharpie, and it just looks so perfect. Like the actual penmanship just looks so legible.
Ooh, so
you know?
Ryan here in the chat room says at the end it says, "Oh, that's right." When on the mirror it says I know. No, it just says I know.
It says I know. It doesn't say I still know.
No, it just says I know. So.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, you see. Hang on. I know. Let me just see this here. Ending shower. 1 second here. See if I can. No, it says I still know.
Oh, it says it. Well, I know better.
No, I do too. But that's what I thought. No, it says I still know, which makes sense. I could have
sworn though at some point in the movie there is a note or something that says I know that pops up. I have to watch that again. Anyways, I think that title is good and that should be the working title. And yeah, like you said, at this point you can commit. You don't have to commit to the summer. You can commit to any time of year. You're like, I kind of like the late fall, November. Kids are coming back from college break after, because it's a year later. I'm not saying the incident has to take place that, that opens the movie to set the tone of the story of the movie. That can take place in the summer after graduation. But instead of it repeating during the summertime, shit goes down when the kids come back during Thanksgiving break.
It could be that. I'm still partial to, winter, and I mean that I'm open to it. I'm open to it, right? And I don't mean like winter is in where it's like your cars and trucks are getting stuck in the ditches. I don't mean like fucking. I mean, hey, maybe that actually might be kind of fun if there's a storm. But again, it's all about, you can create a great mood and a great ambiance and a great atmosphere in a winter setting as well. I mean, you absolutely can do that, where you got to maybe the power goes out, you got to keep warm and shit's who knows? There's lots of, but as Tony said, even with his idea, late fall, November, American Thanksgiving, absolutely, you could do that as well. We both agree that whatever it is, switch it up from summer. Because leave summer to I know what you did, and that's its own identity. And then that's one thing that isn't just the same thing over again. Because there's going to be a lot of parallels and a lot of similarities with the story, because it's about a group of kids that accidentally kill somebody. So why not just change up the flavor a bit, change up the setting a bit, change up the environment a bit, just to give it a bit of a different feel, and then it doesn't come across as so much the same, so it's not the 4th of July or the fireworks and they're getting ready to go to college and all that. It's not beat for beat the same thing.
No,
it's just similar.
I would set something up to where an incident happens at the beginning of the movie during grad night, during June, before summer vacation starts. That's the beginning of the movie. Something happens, an incident happens with Julie's daughter and her friends, and boom, then you go to a year later, kids come back from college break.
A year and a half later even.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I would do like a year.
You're saying at the end of school, right? Which would be like
the beginning of the movie. I would set it then. It's high school graduation,
right? Which would be what for you guys in the States?
Usually, depending on the location,
June, right?
Like, down in here in the South, kids get out in May because they're not putting kids in June in classrooms in June down here because of the weather. Up north, it's in June. In June. We graduated at the end of June. So you could set the opening of the movie at the, mid-June.
Well, that's what I mean. And if you want to go from like a year later, you'd have you don't want to go back to June because then you're in the summer again.
November. I would go to November, like I said, college break, let the kids come home for Thanksgiving.
That's what I meant, like a year and a half.
Bam. Yeah. So you're actually at about a year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And you don't, and again, I mean, you could have
Christmas break. You could do it during Christmas time.
You could, you could.
And the killer could actually be Billy.
Could be Billy. Right. Right. And then it's a shared cinematic universe. And then all of a sudden you could totally do that. And, but
Jennifer Love Hewitt and Olivia Hussey.
There you go. All of a sudden it's like, what? No, but the point that we're making, and it's good stuff here. Like a lot of the ideas we've exchanged tonight have been really good and like enough to at least get the creative juices flowing and to set sort of a premise and to kind of, we'd have to flesh it out a bit and whatnot. But the whole point is, I think there is, when clearly we've been talking about this now for just over an hour and 15 minutes. And clearly there is, I believe anyway, still a little something on the table in this franchise, but it's predicated on Jennifer Love Hewitt returning. If she doesn't come back,
you get no movie.
It's true. It's true, because she's the anchor. And I tell you, I mean, if they ever said we're doing it, and I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel, a direct sequel to the, the original, whatever, and
not her. Yeah, forget it.
Yeah, but you say she's coming back. And yes, look, it's the fucking internet. You're always going to get people going, don't do it again. I mean, I can't tell you how many fucking times I was going to say log on to the internet. What is this, 1997? When I go on, line and I scroll Twitter and there it is. I'm like, okay, and that's enough for today. It's like people it's just a cesspool of toxic dumpster fire. People just bitching and complaining. But I tell you what, they make a movie with Jennifer Love Hewitt, all you don't would be first in line to fucking go see it, or first ready to pop to hit that button on whatever streaming services it's released on. You're going to do it about
it afterwards.
Exactly. Well, yeah, no, but well, that true, that too. But winning solves everything, and it doesn't have to be an amazing movie. It just has to be good. Where you walk away going, that was good. That was all right. That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Scream. That's how I felt when we watched it together. I was like, that was good.
That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking. And you're never going to please Ed. You're never going to please anybody. You're never going to please everybody. It's art. Making movies is art. That's just the reality of what it is. There's people that love the movie we made, right? It's me, Billy. There's people that didn't like it because they didn't agree with our creative decisions. That's the reality. That it's art. You put it out there. Some people are going to like it. Some people are not going to like it. You always hope that everybody likes it, but you don't go in there expecting that because it's art. And you're always going to get people going, they're always going to, and I'm not talking about genuine critiques or criticism or, people who understand, no, I'm just talking about people that just love to complain or just love to just bring shit down. You know what I mean?
Because they could
That's what I'm talking about.
They could do a sequel and it could be literally the perfect, horror movie that they just make here with I Know What You Did Last Summer, and people are still going to hate it.
Of course. That's the internet. That's
people
what
hate
it is.
The original Halloween. They say it's not scary.
Of course. 100%. But the great thing is that, so Hewitt would have to come back, and you just got to make a good movie. That was fun.
Chris Collins here is saying in the chat room that she said on her Instagram that she would do another one. So.
Well, that's not a surprise. And no disrespect to Jennifer Love Hewitt, but Jennifer Love Hewitt she's on that show 911, which I have not seen because I don't have cable anymore. But
she has steadily worked. That's what
she has.
She's a Candace Cameron beret, where she may not be doing blockbusters and what all this, but Jennifer Love Hewitt, like Candace Cameron, they're always working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No. Look. There are certain actors, that will forever be 90s or 80. Pick your decade, 70s, 80s, whatever. Will forever be a specific decade's teen idol. I mean, that's really what it is. Whether it's Candace Cameron, whether it's Jennifer Love Hewitt, whether it's Alyssa Milano, right? Whether it's, but it's true. There are
someone off her rocker.
No, but I
loved me some Alyssa back in the day, man.
But
the Who's the Boss?
Of
era.
course, but
now.
No. But the point I'm making is that they will forever be 90s, 80s, whatever. I mean, that's right. And there's nothing wrong. That doesn't mean they're not working now, right? Hewitt went on to do Ghost Whisperer in the early 2000s, and then she did some movies here or there. She was never in blockbusters, but she's
working. She's just always working.
She's a working actor. That's what she does. And but she also stepped away from the limelight for a bit, got married, and had kids.
Does she have kids?
She does. She just had another kid like a few months back. So she's a new mother with an infant again very recently. So yes, it doesn't surprise me at all that she would come back. Of course she would, because she's older. Again, she's 43 now. She's got the kids and the family and this kind of stuff. And she's probably thinking, that'd be fun. I would do that. Why not? Would she have done it 20 years ago? Maybe not.
Probably
you know,
not.
But now, you know, as the time goes by, and yeah, I could totally see that. And I think if you were to ever
write story.
Yes, exactly. And
if they sort of like pitch like what you and I are pitching to her, but more hashed out, obviously,
yep.
and whatnot. I totally could see her. And not only totally could see her doing it, she could probably do a couple of them if they, you know, had a smart enough story to tell a couple of them.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Oh, for sure. For sure they could. And I would like to see it personally. I would like to see it. I think if you were to reboot the franchise
without her,
no. I'm just going to say, if you were to reboot the franchise, that's what you have to do.
Yeah,
you have to bring her back, and with the idea of approaching the film like how we've been talking about here, like pick all the things we've been talking about, discussing, hashing out. That's the approach you have to take. And she's got to be in it. It can't be a cameo where she just shows up at the end of the movie or something. No.
And it can't be she's like what they did in the recent Scream with Neve Campbell either.
Right.
And again, the reason why it works well for Scream is because this was a launching pad for what they were doing of passing the baton to this new younger cast, and they did it very well, which is not easy to do.
No, but
because I really do enjoy the young kids that they brought into this movie, and I'm looking forward to seeing. Hopefully, they continue to tell decent, good stories with this new cast. But because Jennifer Love Hewitt she's only done 2 of them. So, I mean, like, whereas Nev's done 4 where she is the main, you know, and then this one, the 5th one, where she's not so much the main character. She's more of a, I don't want to say side role, but you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
No, Jennifer Love Hewitt, her screen time's got to be there. Like it's got to be important. She's literally almost got to be the anchor of the movie. She does.
And
wrong with,
No. It's okay. It's fine. It was on my end. I clicked on something. Gotcha. You're good. But it's one of those things where, yeah, she, you know, I Know What You Did Last Summer is not Scream. So, yes, the passing of the torch and all that. Scream is in the pop cultural zeitgeist. I Know What You Did Last Summer is not. You know, it's not in the pop culture zeitgeist. I don't mean it's not that nobody knows about it. Horror fans do, sure, you know, but I'm saying it's not it was not ever a pop cultural phenomenon. Yeah. Scream was and is. So Scream has far more cachet, far more relevance, and in that regard. So, and like you said, Neve Campbell's been in all of them and whatnot. But I think there is an opportunity where you can reboot I Know What You Did Last Summer, bring back Jennifer Love Hewitt in a main role, you know, where she's in it. And then flush it out from there and see what you come up with. I think that's the only way. If you're ever going to do it, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do.
And as I said, if done right, and if the story's told well, you might be able to squeeze 2 of them out. I mean, 3 could be pushing it, but you could probably squeeze 2 out, you know?
You never know. Squeeze 2 shits out. You never know. You never know. Let's go to the chat room and see what you guys are saying. I know some super chats came in, so let me just go over to the super chats and get them. What did we have come in? The first one came in from Mark Rend, who sent in $2 and says the Immortal Classic, followed by the Big Giveaway at that's from Halloween 3, I think, right? Season of the Witch. Is that from Halloween 3? I think it is. I think it is.
That's
yeah.
the TV ad they did.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. That is right, Mark. Mark also follows up with $5. Thank you. He's got a couple in here. He says, the author of I Know What You Did Last Summer hates this film because it's too violent. Her words when she first saw it: as the mother of a murdered child, I despise this film. Oh, as the mother of, okay. All right. Well, hey, you know what? I mean,
if you're going to be the mother of if you're a parent of any kid of yours that's been murdered, any type of horror movie isn't going to sit well with you.
Of course.
If you had kids if you were a parent and you lose kids on Halloween night to a murder, Halloween movies are probably not going to be your favorite movies because of the, I mean, yeah, that just, I mean, obviously if you have that type of an emotional connection to it, but whatever.
Mark says that the author also said, as a mother of a murdered child, I don't find violent death something to squeal and giggle about. Well, then you better stop. Well, now look, I have not read her book. I know what you did last summer, so I don't know how she...
I didn't even know there was a book.
1973. I don't know how she crafted the deaths in the movie. I'm not sure. But, I mean, I would imagine... How do I say this? It's like, it's difficult because it's a movie based on her book. So in fairness, I think she probably feels a little, it's a movie based on her original work. So
probably the way King feels about The Shining, even though we all love The Shining.
Right. I think she's being oversensitive because, but at the same time, I could understand it because it's based on her book. If it was not based on her book, she probably wouldn't feel as strongly about it, right? But she sees it as an opportunity to say what she needs to say. Okay, well but you know what? Welcome to Hollywood. It's show business, and But again, I would be very curious to know how she crafted the death scenes in her book. I don't know what she did. But it is what it is, and hey, I mean, this is, she's not the first author to not like a film adaptation. We'll just say that. HT sends in $5, says the daughter has a similar incident, but his actual murder. The daughter has similar incident, but his actual murder. One of her friends actually shoots someone on purpose. If the group talks they're dead. I'm not sure what you're trying to say there, buddy.
I think he's trying to say that it's Jennifer Love Hewitt's daughter who shoots, one of her friends shoots someone. And if you say anything, the kid's going to shoot. That's a little too dark.
It's interesting, but
I think you need to go the accident road. Now, I'm not saying they need to hit someone, but you need to create some form of an accident that obviously they did not intend for this to happen.
You know what you could do? You could put the audience in a position of not knowing what happened. And it's almost becomes like this horror mystery where something's happened, somebody has died, but nobody knows how. And then of course the next year you get I know. It's like, know what? You see, we as an audience, when we get the message in the original film that says, I know what you did last summer, okay? We don't know who sent the message. Julie James doesn't know who sent the message, but we know what they're talking about. We know it's about the accident, right? We know that they hit somebody, they tried to throw them and then he came alive and they put him into the water and all that. We know all about that. We know what happened. But what if we didn't? What if it was constructed in a way where, something happens, you wake up, you find your friend dead, or, whatever the case is, or something, it's designed in a way where nobody knows. And it becomes almost like a horror mystery. And now somebody's out seeking revenge on it, right? And it's like, we got to find out how this person died. I don't know. It's an interesting sort of angle to take. Sure. It's an interesting angle that might be kind of fun, for the audience as well, because then it's like the characters don't know, the audience doesn't know. It might be interesting. Let's see here. Howard D sends in $5. Thank you, Howard. Says the killer can be Susie Willis. She never died. She was just in a coma. She woke up, learned her dad and brother died. Then she plots her revenge. A little formulaic, but sure, why not? I mean, that's an option.
I'm with you.
That's an option. Fast Forwards 289 sends in $9.99, says, what's up, D&T? Something for the channel, my friends. Thank you very much. Y'all should think about doing a never hike alone and never hike in the snow watch along. That would be cool. Yeah, that would be kind of fun. Maybe get Vince on or something like that and do maybe a bit of a director's commentary or something. That might be kind of fun. We might do that in the future. You never know.
Although Dave and I are crafting, and I'm actually really excited for it. We are going to be we're not going to talk about it right now, but we are going to be introducing kind of a new watch along, but I think something that you guys are going to enjoy, and something that's going to be really fun for us to do. Still within the horror area, but yeah, I'm actually looking forward to us doing that.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
More on that to come.
For sure.
More on that to come.
More on that to come. Stay tuned. Same bad time, same bad channel. HT sends in $5. Says the killer can be one of the friends that is trying to save their own ass by killing their friends and blaming the murders on the final girl. I think you just said something similar to that, but yeah, I mean, again, it's an option. You know what I mean? Like, there's lots of different ways you can go about it. That doesn't really connect anything to... I personally, if I was tapped to write this or to figure it out or crack the code, as I like to call it, I would... My first
draft.
Yeah, my first approach would be trying to figure out how can we connect this to the original. Right. Yep. So there's a connection.
That is your anchor.
Right. So it's somebody. Yeah. Like I would be going through that first movie with a fine tooth comb and really trying to figure out, what can we do here that's, oh, wait a minute. Why don't we exploit that and really connect it? Yeah. And it makes sense. It doesn't feel like, we're stretching it. It totally makes sense. Like for me, what we did with Billy makes sense. There's a lot of people that didn't like it because there's a lot of hardcore Black Christmas fans out there that believe 100%. And there's merit to this, that Jess actually died at the end of the movie. And that's why the phone was ringing, because if you pay close attention, Billy makes a phone call after every death. So there is absolutely circumstantial evidence at the very least to suggest that, he got her. Because he came down from the attic, he was walking along, the camera pulls out from the house, we see, Claire in the window in the attic, and the phone just rings and rings, and it's like, that means he got, totally 100%. The problem with that is that Bob Clark, the director who passed away in 2007, said years later that he was even contemplating on doing a sequel where Jess is older and she's like a sorority mom now, and shit hits the fan and starts to happen again, all that kind of stuff. Now that never came to fruition, but it shows that, there was wiggle room there, right? You know what I mean? But there are people that didn't like what we did because they're like, no, Jess died. Clearly she died. She wanted to have an abortion. But we're like, yes, but what if the events of that night changed her mind? The events of that night made her realize, she became obsessed. And she thought, well, what if I'm supposed to have this baby? Because the baby is okay. The baby didn't die. I didn't have a miscarriage. Even through that fight with Peter and I'm, running all over the house, the baby is okay. Maybe she just had a change of heart. And it's totally believable. It doesn't mean you got to agree with it, but it's believable. That happens. That does happen, and so that was our end point on then fast forwarding 50 years and making it all about the granddaughter and all that kind of stuff. So, and of course, obviously the story's not finished, in case you didn't notice. But that's what I would do. Like I would be going through, I Know What You Did Last Summer with a fine tooth comb and really trying to figure out, is there an opportunity here to connect a, reboot to the original? Somewhere, somehow. So there's connective tissue there, and it doesn't feel so much like, separate. That's what I would do. And if there legitimately is nothing, well, then maybe, you go the route that you're talking about. But Nate A sends in $5, says thoughts on
why is it thundering out? It's raining. I just checked my phone.
There you go. Nate A says, thoughts on Elon buying Twitter. Lots of either anger or celebrations about it. Also, it's my birthday today. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Nate A. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, buddy.
Marilyn impression attempt.
Happy birthday. Dear Nate A. Happy birthday, Nate.
They got a good Netflix movie that just came out with Marilyn Monroe. It's pretty good.
Do they? I'll have to check it out. Elon buying Twitter? Whatever. I don't know. I try to stay out of it. I'm just like, okay, so he bought Twitter. Great. Okay.
I think what he's doing is hilarious. I mean, I'm still, look, my social media is Instagram, and that's pretty much, well, I mean, I throw my mixes that I mix on, DJing on SoundCloud and Mixcloud, but I'm not using, I mean, yeah, it's a social media platform, but it's people use it to listen to music. You know what I mean? That's it. I don't equate it to the same as like YouTube and Twitter, where Twitter, you know, your people are expressing their opinions, their thoughts, their views, and whatever and whatnot. And people do that on Instagram. I get that, but yeah, I'm not a big social media person. Like but I do think I find it hilarious how he does troll some people, and like a certain side does flip the fuck out. So for the entertainment purpose of it, I think it's funny.
Yeah, I always love, I don't care if it's Elon Musk or if it's right or left or whatever, because you can exploit both sides. Like I really, as we've talked about many times, it really doesn't matter what side of the aisle you fall on.
No, they're all shitbags.
It's all shitbags, and you can you can pick apart, you know.
Not Elon. He's talking the political aspect.
I'm just talking about how there's such a tribalism between right and left and left and right. It's like, come on, there's shitbags everywhere.
They're all idiots.
Yeah, and you know, really, so you can poke fun at anything, but I do find, I do think it's funny when, you know, I do think we are becoming way too sensitive. I think listen, life changes, things change, you know, for sure we can be mindful of certain things and 100%. But do I think that in general, there are, you know, people are becoming a little too sensitive over things? Yes, of course, absolutely. And I think there are a lot of people out there that feel that way and that are afraid to say anything because they don't want to lose their job. And unfortunately, I think there are far more people than you realize who, if you talk privately with, go, oh, fuck, yes, I know, fuck, oh, God. You know what I mean? 100%. Because
if you really want to put it in perspective, I think I found out, I was curious, there's only worldwide 330 million active people on Twitter. Now that sounds like a big number, but when you compare it to the fact that there are 7 billion people on the planet.
Oh yeah, it's one of the lower ones. I think there's more people on Facebook. There's more people on Instagram. I think there might even be more people on TikTok, although don't quote me on that.
And I don't even use that. It's like,
no, I don't either.
You know, it's just, whatever.
It's just, look, I mean,
it's funny as far as the entertainment value.
That's what I was just going to say. Look, Twitter hasn't changed since Elon. Now I know that
exactly. Right.
I know that
I'm not on there, so I shouldn't say that.
Right. But I'm just saying that nothing has changed, okay? If anything, Elon Musk buying Twitter is just great for as Tony said, he's absolutely right. It's just great entertainment to watch people just scream and yell and freak out, or on the other side and go, yeah, that's right. Yeah, freedom. Yeah, it's like, oh, shut up. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous all around. It's like what the fuck I'm watching here. Twitter is.
Maybe it's because you and I now, we half of our life was without social media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I don't put that much value in stock into social media. Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, but I understand if you're a young kid or a young adult who grew up in this, and this is, you know, so I understand it from that perspective. But like what you're saying, you know, one side is freaking the fuck out while the other side is thinking they just won the Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, I'm like, you're really putting this much value into fucking Twitter? Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, when you die, you don't take Twitter with you.
You don't take anything with you.
You don't take anything with you. So like,
there's like, you know, and it sounds like a cop-out, but I don't mean it. And I can say this because I've said it many times on the show. You know, I've learned a lot about myself over the years as you get older and you get to your 40s. There's a lot of issues in the world that I lean a little left on, and there's a lot of issues in the world that I lean a little right on, and I've always, I think,
Dave, you gotta pick a side.
Well, that's just it. I think just naturally, I just am a very sort of balanced kind of person, and what I don't like is the tribalism of it. You know, just and it's like, I don't want to be. I just want to live. You know what? Just tell me an issue. Okay, I think this. well, that's not what I think. I don't care. You know, like
Exactly.
I don't like on either side. Like I just think the tribalism and the teams and the what is it? The of course, I hate this word because it's such a buzzword. But you know, the identity politics and all that kind of stuff. It's so bad.
Identity,
It's
even
so
with
bad.
the identity politics, you know, when it comes to, you know, people going by certain pronouns and shit, the reality is when you're off of social media, no one gives a fuck.
Well,
no one's calling you by your pronoun. No one's approaching you in the
well, what I mean by
store.
identity politics, I mean that like you're picking a side, right? Like you're very left, you're always left, you'll always vote left, you have very left, you know, values and things like that, or you're right, you're very right, you have right values. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if that's the way you want to live your life, that's the way you want to live your life. But it creates, because the word, like I've always said on this channel, one of the big, and I've said this for a couple of years now, so if you follow me for any length of time, you'll know there's a war on nuance, whether it's conscious or not, and you remove nuance
Yeah, there
and
is.
life is about, there's many shades of gray in life. Very few things are black and white. Again, I don't mean that gives you an excuse to just say whatever the hell you want. I just mean that growing up and going through life is not a black and white experience. There's many shades of gray and many things that kind of, so if you pick a side or whatever side that is, and you have no room to grow or to listen or to converse with conversation, you're not going to make it. You're going to have a very tough, miserable life because you're going to get so attached to the identity politics of it all that it'll become very difficult to breathe. So, you know, the happiest people in the world are people that just ride right down the middle and waving at everybody going, hey, how you doing? What's going on, everybody? Just because they're not so caught up in the tribalism and it's just like, oh God, it's crazy to me. And now that doesn't mean it's not fun. Like Tony said, it doesn't mean that it can't be hilarious to watch people freaking out or thinking they won the Super Bowl. Or whatever. Of course, it's funny to watch this stuff, of course. But man, I mean, just don't get so caught up in it.
Well, because like I said, people put so much stock and value into it because, as I said, you know, I see these TikTok videos pop up on YouTube, like, you know, they're done in compilations, and you've got this individual or that individual, and they're going by, I go by, I'm like, bitch, the moment you put that phone down, no one's going to give a fuck what you go by, because in the real world, no one's going to be sitting there calling you this laundry list of fucking names, because we're not mind readers. But because, like you just said, about as far as people being unhappy, because people put so much value on strangers' opinions on social, because that's ultimately what it is. It's a bunch of strangers that you don't know. And this is not a connection. You're not connected. Even what Dave and I are doing virtually through, you know, it's just too bad we're not closer to where we could hang out and go out for a beer or pizza, you know, or something like that. That's the unfortunate part, because I know it'd be fucking awesome.
I'll be awesome. Great.
You know, because like you said, people are so unhappy that the only happiness they create for themselves is making those types of videos, when at the end of the day, in the real fucking world, once you put that phone down, no one gives a shit. And it's not a diss. It's just, that's reality.
No, it's true.
Because we're all going about our day doing our fucking whatever it is, our jobs, our fucking, you know, whatever.
Yeah, it's not real. You know, it isn't. No. It's very much
it's a
like
show. It's a show.
Well,
for
it's
attention.
the social media is in 100 years' time, maybe even sooner, we will look back at social media as like how we look back at like the gramophone or something back to but we will, because
of wherever we advance to. No, I
agree. I just recently watched, again, because I love this movie, I watched Ready Player One. And I watched it with my girlfriend. Oh, it's a great film.
I know. It's just on the list.
I remember watching an interview with Spielberg, and he said, the Oasis, which is the virtual world that's in this movie, he says, yes, it's very futuristic and, you know, we're not quite there yet. He says, but what you see in this movie, and he said this, he says, what you see in the movie is not as far away as you think it might be. And in terms of the virtual reality, all this kind of stuff.
VR games.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. And but the way they depict it, right? But when you think of social media and when you're on your phone, like I went for a jog this afternoon and I'm jogging down this path. And of course, you pass by people walking their dogs, they're out for walks. Everybody I pass, even people walking their dogs, looking at their phones. They're on. The dog stops to sniff a tree, and you can't just stand there and enjoy and watch your little pet enjoying themselves. No, you have to. You're on your phone and you're doing this. We're always connected. This is the Oasis. For all intents and purposes, this is a virtual world. And we are this right now in the chat room, people in the chat room, we're not avatars and we actually can see what each other looks like. Well, we can't see, but look at the chat room. And those little avatars on the side, right? You got MAGA Cat's got a cat with a MAGA hat. You got little R there. You got Chester Franklin Jr. who's got his real face there. But a lot of people post just different stuff, whatever. This is the preliminary. This is it. This is the beginning of it. Look at what Zuckerberg wants to do with, the metaverse and all this stuff, right? It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Lifetime,
yes.
You and I will be able to sit next to each other watching a game virtually.
100%.
I believe that in our lifetime.
Yes. And I will be able to look like whatever I want to look like. And it's the same with you. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Or I can be myself. And so it's not real. It feels real because there's real emotions being, shared, but it's not real. And that's why, now when I scroll Twitter or it's a toxic set, I'm just like, oh, I've unfollowed a lot of news organizations and things, because I'm just like, it just doesn't stop.
I've unfollowed all of that.
It just doesn't stop.
I see a little bit on YouTube, but no, dude, I'm with you.
I just want to have fun.
Two of the best habits I've really disciplined myself in doing is when I'm driving, the phone goes into the console, unless I'm using it for directions to get to a house to shoot.
Yeah.
That's obviously different. But when I'm out of the car and if I'm in a grocery store or if I'm in Starbucks or whatever, I put the phone in my back pocket. I consciously now make that decision to not be doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be, brainwashed like that.
Yeah.
And I just want to clarify something so that no one takes what I'm saying out of context. I'm not saying those videos, those TikTok videos of people doing their lists of pronouns is a bad thing. What I'm saying is just be honest with yourself. You're doing it for attention. You're doing it to seek approval from your peers that follow you on social media, the whole stunning and brave thing and all that, whatever nonsense. That's the reason why you're doing it. You're not doing it because it's a genuine thing, because as I said, the moment you close that app and you're back in the real world setting, nobody's caring about what you just did on whatever platform that you're doing. The only people who are
it's an interesting dichotomy, isn't it?
Right. The only people who are going to care about it are total strangers on your social media platform. But at the end of the day, I know the type, I'm not stupid. When I go into Starbucks, I know the types who probably got about 15 pronouns after them. But when I'm having a conversation with my barista, we're not talking about, we're just having general fun conversation. That's what I like about it.
Yeah.
Talking about whatever, movies, whatever.
Well, there's definitely a cultural, a cultural and social shift that is being implemented. I mean, it's there. And of course it does affect a lot of us who grew up not in the digital age. It does affect a lot of us because we didn't grow up. We don't care about, I don't care, really, and I sincerely mean this. I don't care who you are, what color you are, I just like nice people. You know what I mean? So that's it. You know what I mean? You treat me nice, I'll treat you nice. That's it. That's it. Anyway, let's move on from this. Moving on. Let's see. HT sends in $5, says, I started my own podcast. Awesome. And I love it. We talk about films and other things. Love to have you on the show. We can watch your fan film together. Well, I can't promise. I don't take requests live on the air like this for obvious reasons. But reach out to me through my Many Things Dave McRae page. Let me, know a bit more about your show and things like that, and we'll see if we can work. I can't promise anything because I do have a very busy schedule, but reach out to me that way, and then we can maybe work something out. But I can't promise anything. But I will say that's awesome that you started your podcast and that you're having fun, and that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. That's creating. That's the reason what I feel, I'm trying to say this the right way without offending people. How I approach social media is from a creative aspect. So whether I'm, taking a photograph of something in the country themed setting on my Anthony Michael picks, or obviously doing my work related stuff on the real estate, or creating mixes with the DJ and stuff, you know what I mean? And then I throw it out there, listen to it. You enjoy it. It's there. Creating is, to me, it's the best recipe outside of exercising and fitness to having a positive mindset and a positive outlook on life, because really, I don't, when Dave and I are off this stream, unless I'm talking about it with my mom or my dad, I don't really do politics that much. I don't get into those topics. So for me, it's either I'm talking with Devin about exercising or movies or whatever, and then I have, like I said, I got the music side of me. I got the photography side of me. I've got a business to run and whatever and whatnot. And when you're constantly creating, your mind is, like I said, your mind is more filled with positive vibes, because you're always thinking of, whatever it is that you're going to do next. And you really, that's why I think it's easy for me to shut off the world, in the social media thing, and put my phone in my back pocket and ignore everything, because I don't care about that stuff. I just want to create shit and constantly create shit. And then if I, whatever personal things, I know some people complain about that sometimes, like, why don't you share more personal things about yourself? Because I am a very private person, like I don't like sharing, I will open up the door occasionally once, like I did this weekend on Instagram, I shared a little bit and left it at that, but I do get messages like, I just, like, why? I'm not like that person on social media who's going to share every. Well,
you have a private life.
But outside, and I want to keep it that way. You don't need to know every little detail that I'm doing. If it's not music related, if it's not photography related, or, occasionally I might share an exercise that I'm doing. If I'm
nobody needs to be seeing you taking a shit on the toilet. I mean,
or knowing every little, like, you're like, you know what I mean? Like, no, it just like, even in my friends in real life, it's a very small, and it's always been that way. It's a very small group of people. And I'm cool with that. I don't need, whatever. But the point is, as far as, going back to creating the podcast, being a creator of anything, it doesn't matter. It's a podcast or like what Dave does with independent films or voiceover work, you know what I mean? Just having that diversity of just creating different things. I can't encourage it enough for everyone to find some type of a creative outlet, because it's the best therapy and it's the most positive thing that you can do. So good luck, dude. And hey, you never know, you might get Dave on your show one day. Yeah.
It's all about having fun, right? And the second it feels like work or you're not having fun, then you're not doing it right. But it depends on your goals as well, right? It depends on your goals. That's it. Let me see. Kenneth Holmes sends in $2, says 100% agree, Tony. Nailed it. It's like that Netflix show. Let's see here. That's what she said. That's what she said. Let's see here. What else we got?
You know what I wanted to comment on? Because I will say I have been 100% amused. Daisy mentioned she's been watching the Johnny Depp trial. That shit's been hilarious. If there is one thing that I have learned from the Johnny Depp trial, is that you obviously do not need to be a smart person to be a lawyer, because Amber Heard's lawyers got to be the most incompetent and inept lawyers that I have ever seen in my life. How do you object your own answer?
Johnny Depp is literally like this. Well, I walked in the room, right? And
she pooped on the bed.
No. He said this. He goes,
he's very methodical on his word. Yeah.
But he goes, I got a delivery of fecal matter. And it's like, oh God, he's tough to listen to because he takes forever to get through a sentence, but listen, these are just two rich celebrities fighting over,
bickering with each other.
Yeah. Right? I mean, this is all this, it's such a waste of money and time. But it is fun to watch these, rich people.
It's not so much them. It's like Amber Heard's lawyers are like,
well, it's just the whole idea.
So
but come on,
incompetent
Amber
at
Heard
times. I'm just
shits in Johnny Depp's bed. Come on. I mean, clearly there's something wrong.
She is definitely the kind of crazy that I'm
maybe
like,
she's into it.
You're a little too, you're past Harley Quinn crazy. Okay. You're on a whole nother planet of crazy that I'm like, I'm going to keep you over there.
It's true. It's totally true. It's totally true. What else we got going on in the chat room? What's, let's see here. What are people saying? Oliver Mercer says, yeah, that's so true. It may become hard to know what's real and what's AI, the world around you. Yeah, it's true.
And that's dangerous. That's dangerous.
Oh, it's very dangerous. But the original point I was making was like, Spielberg said he's not wrong. You know, the internet and what we're doing right now, I don't know if you've really thought of it like this,
but we be obsolete.
But we are but what we're doing right now, we are in an oasis. We are in, it's just that the oasis in Ready Player One is extremely advanced, right? But I sit down here, I put on these headphones, I have the microphone here like this, I turn on stuff and bloop, 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 and I tap into another world for 2 hours. I mean, this is it, and here I am seeing avatars on the screen and it's not the real world. It's, you know, it's crazy to think where this is going to be in another 100 years. It's crazy.
I mean, I'm sitting here talking to a dude in Canada that I have never met physically in my life.
Same.
Never spent one day with Dave in person. And yet you would think Dave and I have known each other our whole lives. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it just, you know, and I never, as a teenager or even in my 20s, you know, would have fathomed that this is where, so to sit there and say, by the time me and Dave are really old men, like grumpy old men, we'll be able to do this show sitting from a ballpark somewhere.
Well, and dude,
as avatars,
as the saying goes,
or ourselves.
Yeah. And as the saying goes, technology expands exponentially. And that just simply means that we are getting further ahead more quickly, right? So, you know, it just keeps speeding up the rate at which technology is advancing. And so, you know, the time between, say, the year 2000 and the year where we will be in the year 2042 is light years different from 2002 to 2022.
To process what we're going to see in 2042.
It's crazy. So
it's going to be nuts.
But at the rate that we advanced in the last 20 years, it'll be so much faster and so much crazier in the next 20 years. And then it'll just keep going. And I
guarantee you, I probably in 20 years, I'll be able to put on some type of thing and not project myself, but put myself in a scenario, a studio setting that Dave does. And it'll seem like I'm sitting next to Dave doing this show with you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You know, and it's insane. It is. It's mind-boggling.
That's why at the same time, I like to keep some of my sanity. Like I said, I don't try to keep looking at my phone. I don't own an Alexa. There's just certain types of technology that I refuse to own. I know this is going to sound like super freaking like, well,
no, I get it.
It's my personality and I do like my privacy. Like I make sure like on my computer camera, that's on the Mac and on the laptop, I have the cameras blocked off with black tape because I do feel like we have a bit of our privacy that's been completely invaded. And I want to kind of contain some of that stuff. I don't need, because you do hear stories of people getting hacked and they can hack into your computer and
it's true.
They can see what's going on through your cameras and stuff. So I make sure I try to guard as much of it as I possibly can.
Yeah, no, I get it. The Blackest Eyes says, question, what if Jennifer's character maybe had a daughter? Yeah, we decided, or we talked about that. A daughter decides to move out of town and moves to a different town where they pass by a sign saying, "Welcome to Ohio." What's the significance of Ohio?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that part out. I mean, I like the idea, but I'm just trying to figure out what's the significance of Ohio.
Was there a significant, and again, I mean, is there an Ohio connection to the I Know What You Did Last Summer films?
I don't know.
When I think of Ohio, I think of Drew Carey. Ohio. And the Drew Carey show. I'm not sure, but interesting. Interesting. Let me see here. Just waiting to see if the Blackest Eyes says
a couple people are asking, are we going to ever meet in person?
We will meet.
I'm sure we will. I think the COVID thing threw a curveball for everybody. So traveling became a little bit different, a little bit more restrictive. So it's not as easy to cross the border.
Scheduling too. We got to schedule stuff and all that kind of stuff. And, it's, we will.
Even in real, I shouldn't say real. Well, yeah, real world.
Real world.
When I'm off of this, Devin, he's been my best friend for over 20 years. He lives an hour from me, and it's not like I see him a lot. I haven't seen him in several months, and he, or not several months, but it seems like several months, like about it was like a few weeks ago, whatever it was. But the point is, he lives an hour away. He's married. He's off doing his thing. You know what I mean? We don't see each other as often as you think. It's just because that's what happens as you get older. So, I mean, you don't, even if Dave and I lived close by, it's just, life scheduling sometimes can be really hard to do for meetups and stuff, but I'm sure we'll cross paths one day.
Yeah, we will. Absolutely. The Blackest Eyes says, I meant, what if they end the movie, they move to Ohio where they end up in Springwood? No.
Well, and then you hear the Freddy theme playing?
Yeah, no. I don't think so. I would not want to. I don't like that kind of stuff. But that's me. I mean, that's,
Dave, I want a Slicker Man versus Freddy movie.
I want a
I still want a Jason versus Michael movie.
I think people want a Michael versus. I don't want any versus.
But Dave,
I think Freddy versus Jason's a piece of shit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That escalated quickly.
I know, but I'm just, I gotta say it. These people. I'm like, come on, man. Come on. I'm not saying it's not, entertaining to watch, but come on.
But Dave,
come on. Yeah. You know what movie I watched last night with my girlfriend? We watched the Arnold movie, The Sixth Day. I saw it years ago.
I think I saw that years ago.
Came out the year 2000. That's that one where he comes home and he thinks he's been cloned because he sees himself in his whatever, but then he ends up actually realizing that he's the clone and the whole. It's good. It's like it's not as good as Total Recall, but it's in the same vein as science fiction-y, kind of like that. But it's in the year 2000. Yeah, it was one of the last movies he did like that, because after that he did Collateral Damage, and then he did Terminator 3, and then he became the governor. So it was sort of kind of one of his last movies that he did like that.
You and your girlfriend, I'm kind of on the fence on how I feel about the ending of the Ozark, but I still recommend that. It's a great series. The ending fell a little flat for me, a little too safe, but I don't want to spoil it for you. But I do think it's a series that you and her will really enjoy watching. It's a good series.
Yeah, I definitely want to check that out. Jake says, versus movies are trash, zero interest. I just don't like the idea. I get the appeal. It's not that I can't intellectualize it and understand
except for like Kong versus Godzilla. That
yeah. It does. But there's just this Freddy and Jason and Michael and Pin. I don't know. I just not it. I like their own. I guess it's because I don't know. I guess.
Maybe
I can
if we were like 12 years old again and talking about it, I might be interested. But.
Like I can see the appeal. I understand. I don't know. I watched Freddy versus. I think I've only seen Freddy versus Jason like maybe.
Did we ever
maybe twice.
Did we ever talk?
I don't think we did. Maybe we should do Freddy versus Jason.
We should. Maybe we'll do that in the near future. Maybe we'll do that during the Halloween run this year.
Maybe we will. And then we'll just talk all the way through it about something completely unrelated. Can you imagine? Yeah. Let's see. What are we going to do? Daisy McMillan says the killer, and I know what you did last summer, is kind of like Ghostface. In
what regard?
In what sense? Because I know in the three movies he's the same person. Whereas in Scream, it's not the same person.
Different each time.
Maybe she just means the way he looks, or I don't know. I'm not sure. What time is it here? It's 8:14. What do you want to do? You want to take it to 8:30 or wrap it up?
Wrap it up.
Want to wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up.
All right, let's wrap it up, folks. One last question, and then we'll wrap it up, baby. And the question...
and if you want us to go longer, make it a political question. No.
No. Oh, yeah. I don't. No.
Make it a Halloween question.
If you want
we'll be here for another hour.
If you want us to go longer, just pop in that $500 super chat and we'll...
5 million.
5 million. A $5 million super chat. $5 million.
I wouldn't know what to do with myself if that actually happened.
All right.
First I'd be like, damn, you got 5 million and drop like that?
No, you couldn't. I don't even, I think the highest you can go in super, I think it's $500, I think.
No, you can do 1,000. I've seen people
can
do
you?
1,000.
1,000. Who
I've seen that. Dude, I've seen Salty Cracker, that dude I was telling you about. This is bad. I haven't watched him in a minute, but like, dude's getting bombs in there. He's getting 500. I've seen 1,000.
Oh,
and he's getting a
God.
lot. And he's getting a lot of this shit. I'm like, yo, just rake it in, bro. Like, rake it in.
1,000. That's just insane. Booster Seat says, you missed my super chat. Did I, Booster? Let's go back and have a look here. Kenneth Holmes, KHT, Booster Seat. There it is. This will be the last one. $2 says, in the new Halloween, Michael stabs someone in the ass. You mean ass?
Like ass?
Well, no, it says AS. But I think Booster Seat means ass. In the new Halloween, Michael stabs someone in the ass. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Good night, everybody. That was a heck of a show. Thank you for joining us for episode 151 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Hey, if you're watching live, if you're watching after the fact, comment below and let Tony and I know your thoughts on rebooting the I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise, what you thought of our ideas, direction, bringing back Jennifer Love Hewitt, all that kind of stuff. Comment below and let us know. We would love to know. Tony and I, of course, will be back next Monday night at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you to our moderators, Frank Reicher, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber. Thank you to the Super Chat questions, the non-Super Chat questions. You are all amazing. Tony, any last things you want to say?
No, fun show. Good times tonight. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, it was a good show. It was a very, very good show. And always remember, folks, that in the new Halloween, Michael Myers stabs somebody in the ass, in the buttocks. He massages them first, though. He massages them first.
Gotta massage the butt first before you enter.
Good night, everybody.